he wasn't great at it, but he could kind of get that dun, 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 dun. He
Yeah.
could kind of pull that off a bit. So, we played that.
Oh wait, did they hop up with us when we played?
Um, I don't remember. Yeah.
I mean, we did that a fair amount. Like when kids would come up to us and be like, "Oh, I know how to play one of your songs," and we'd be like, "Oh, which song?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, Verbal Kent," and we'd be like, "Yeah, okay." And we just have kids hop up because even if they weren't that hot of horn players, it's like such an easy part that it's not a big deal. And our horn players, if they weren't good, would just blast over them, just drown them out. But I feel like somebody did that at Tuba City. Maybe not, but I don't know.
I can't remember if we were.
I mean, it was a long time ago now. What, 21 years ago?
21 years ago. Jeez.
Long time, man.
Yeah. Was there very many local bands in Tuba City?
Yeah, it might have just been us at the time. And Cameron had like 2 bands. In Flagstaff had quite a few bands up in Flagstaff area. But Tuba City, for that, at that time, we were probably the only band for like maybe a year or 2 or something like that. Before that, there was like some metal bands.
So the biggest band that I know of that played in Tuba City was Fugazi. I guess they must have played at the auditorium.
Yeah, the Gray Hills Auditorium. Yeah.
I mean, were you like cognizant of like punk rock at that time when that happened, or?
Yeah. The band called Blackfire from Flagstaff, they were bringing a lot of punk bands into the reservation. I remember they brought Joey Ramone and the Resistance out to Tuba City before at the Gray Hills Auditorium. That was pretty cool. They brought Maynard from Tool and Fugazi. I can't remember who else. But yeah, they used to throw some pretty good shows up at the auditorium. A band called Blackfire, they bring quite a few bands out.
I was reading about, there was like supposedly some famous incident in Tuba City in like the mid 2000s of Glenn Danzig going there and getting punched in the face.
Oh, was that there?
Yeah, he got knocked out at the auditorium. Yeah, Gray Hills Auditorium.
Yeah, what do you know about that, or were you around that?
That day the ATM machines went out. I couldn't get money to get a ticket to go see the show. And I just remember people telling me afterwards, Danzig got knocked out by Northside King's lead singer.
That's that video I've seen, right? In that hallway?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's in Tuba City?
Yeah, that was in Tuba City.
Shit, that's awesome.
Oh man, he'll never forget Tuba City. Danzig will never forget Tuba City. Now.
Yeah, for real.
The auditorium is a pretty good place to put shows on too. I remember we did a couple shows at the Crack Shack, and we figured we should go try to throw a little bigger show up at the auditorium. And so we got the help of the radio station manager who helped us get the place, and we had this band come out from Albuquerque. I think they were called 86th. And we had everything set up, the PA set up, and a couple of bands played, and people were coming in, more people showing up. And then a police officer came from the back, and so who's running the show? I was like, I am. And then he's like, you got to shut this down. I'm like, what? Why? And I guess the guys from 86 were out back smoking marijuana.
Oh.
And they gave me an ultimatum, like, you can play the show, but we're taking these guys in, or shut down the show and these guys can just, get out of town. It's like, man, all right, we're gonna shut the show down. Man, it sucked though.
Do you have a favorite Crack Shack show that you were at?
Link 80, Total Chaos, and the Slackers. Those are probably the ones that stand out the most. And the first Operation Cliff Clavin, the Sissies, when they first played there, because that place was packed that we couldn't open the door. The door at that time was a different location, and there was that a, a little room that we didn't knock the walls down, so the venue was a little smaller, but the place was packed, and people were trying to get in, and I had to squeeze through the front door to try to get in because that place was packed. And those are like the shows that I remember the most.
I just love the image of the Slackers playing in there. Like that just seems so amazing to me. I mean, it makes so much sense for like punk bands to play in there, but like the Slackers are like so cool, and just like them in that environment just seems like it would be surreal.
Yeah, they had like taggings everywhere, carpet all over the walls, and we weren't carpenters. We just kind of just threw things together, hammer and nail, and just
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised to learn that was your home at one point, because like that building seemed like it was just 1,000 years old. Like,
yeah, it's pretty old.
And I thought like maybe it was like a workshop or something at one point. And I mean, like when I found out that, I think I'd asked you at some point if the venue was still around. You're like, no, we tore it down. And I just imagined the foundation still being there or something. Like,
yeah, the foundation is still there, and I go back home, I drive past by it every now and then, and I'll think about it like, man, had some good times there, some fun times. I've seen some good bands.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about like places that hold like a special, I don't know if you want to call it energy or whatever, but like I think if I visited that foundation of that building, it would be really moving to me. Like there's a few places that are like that for me, like the Fireside Bowl in Chicago. It's one of those venues that was really magical. And I'd hold the Crack Shack like right there next to it. Like we didn't play there as many times, but the 2 times that we did play there made a gigantic impact on me.
Yeah.
So Adam, so you've played like a ton of shows as Link 80, like like dingy punk rock, type of shows. Like, what was it about this venue or these 2 shows that was like kind of elevates it to beyond some of these other punk shows that you've played?
I think it was just the community that was around it. I mean, sitting outside of the show before it started and just seeing all these kids roll in, and like barely any white kids. Like I think there was like maybe one blonde-haired girl there. And I just remember all these like, dark-haired kids. Everybody kind of had like longish hair or crazy punk hair. And I just remember, can't remember that. Do you remember this girl? She was like a cheerleader. I kept in touch with her for a minute, but like, I just remember sitting outside of the place, and she was super friendly, and she was just showing me like, oh, I know that person from this family and this person from this and blah, blah, blah. And just the level of like connection between everybody who lived on the reservation was just like really, really special to me, because it didn't seem like, first there were just so many kids there already. Like, so it was like a great show. But like usually a great show somewhere else where there's like a bunch of kids there, they would all be from different places and none of them would know each other. Like all these kids knew each other. And it was like such a unified front.
It was like half of them were probably like my relatives, and the other half were friends.
Yeah. And then just, I mean, I feel like there was maybe one more band that played, but like the 2 that we talked about were the ones that really stuck out to me. And I also at the time was not watching a lot of the bands that we would play with, because it was just, you're just burned out on it. You're touring all these places, and most of the ska punk bands you play with maybe aren't that good, or you're just burned because you've been listening to bands nonstop. And I just remember that show, I watched everybody's bands. Like I was just like so floored, and it made us play way harder. Like I don't remember anybody like coming away from that show being like, whatever. Like I feel like we laid it down.
Yeah, that was good.
Because I felt like we needed to. And then I just remember the drive in and out of Tuba City, I felt like it took forever.
Where'd you guys driving from?
I can't even remember. I just remember like feeling like